wormholes, particle physics, extra dimensions. Are the wonders of so-called reality really what they appear to be? Or do we exist in an elaborate hologram? Is our universe the result of random activity or the result of intelligent design? If a creator was involved, can we discover him through our perception of divine order? This is Into the Multiverse with Josh Peck.
All right, welcome back to Into the Multiverse from last week. I know usually I have like a little zippy intro and, you know, something like that for the show, but I really want to jump right into this conversation that we left off on last week with Timothy Alberino. I am in studio with Tim Alberino and my lovely, beautiful wife, Christina Peck. Very quickly, where can people find us online?
All right, very quick. YouTube.com/Into the Multiverse, or go to our Skywatch TV homepage. Scroll down, click on the banner. It will take you right to the YouTube channel. Or find us on Roku under the Skywatch TV channel. Excellent.
All right, so last week we left off on kind of a cliffhanger. We were talking about demons, and you made a really interesting point. Just for those who might not have caught that, just generally, what was that, and what were you going to say before we ran out of time?
We were talking about how the Book of Enoch talks about the judgment that was sentenced on that was doled out to the giants, the spirits of the giants, when the giants killed each other, when they died, that their bodies, their spirits would be forced to wander the earth bodiless, and yet they would have all the desires that are associated with the flesh, but without flesh. So it's a very torturous situation for them, and that they would become. Oh, and by the way, what I didn't say was it says they would become unclean spirits,
right,
on the earth. And so we see that Jesus shows up, and these unclean spirits, specifically, they're called unclean spirits. They recognized him immediately. They recognized him because part of their judgment was that at some point in time, at the end of the age, they would be judged. That the day of their judgment was pending. And so when Jesus showed up, they recognized the judge. They realized the judge has come to the earth. Even though the Pharisees and the scribes and the men of the law and of the Torah could not recognize him.
They totally missed it.
But the unclean spirits, the spirits of the giants, recognized the judge, which is incredible. Because I have no indication in either the Bible or the Book of Enoch that the giants had ever gone up to heaven.
Right.
So how is it that they recognized the judge?
And not only that, but recognized that he was coming prematurely.
He was coming prematurely because they said the hour of our judgment has not yet come.
Right.
And so this absolutely validates the text of the Book of Enoch in my in my estimation. And so they recognize that Jesus is here. They throw themselves at his feet, inhabiting the bodies of these people. So these people are being thrown at the feet of Jesus and screaming, "We know who you are. You are the Son of God." And Jesus tells them, "Be silent." And I believe in one case he says, "Don't say that. Don't tell people that." And because it wasn't to be the testimony of demons that declared who he was.
That's right.
And even though they knew who he was, they knew. Even though the people doubted, the unclean spirits knew. And these are very arcane, ancient entities. Pre-flood entities that recognized the Son of God. And so he had complete authority over them, obviously. And so that, I think that's very interesting to see the line of these unclean spirits, the continuation of them, all the way from the pre-flood context, all the way to Jesus is here. The great judge has come. And that also testifies to the fact that they didn't know that he would come and die. To redeem mankind. In fact, you know, that this was a mystery. This was a mystery, even I believe, to angels. That the Son of the living God would come and die.
Because if they would have known that, they never would have conspired to put him on the cross.
And so this must have been absolutely baffling to these entities. That for you mean for these people, for this race. That is so inferior compared to angels and all these other entities, that the Son of God, the great judge, is coming to give his life for them, to redeem them. Imagine how astounded all of these other entities, the angels and all these angelic beings were watching this unfold. And the good guys, so to speak, and the bad guys. Watching the gospel literally unfold for us.
Isn't that amazing?
And yet so many of us believers, we take it for granted.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it's really amazing that here, the judge is here, wait a minute, it's not time yet. Based on what? Based on what scripture are these unclean spirits saying this?
Yeah, exactly.
Based on the book of Enoch. Based on the text that we have in the book of Enoch, which, by the way, the Hebrews knew. The Hebrews were very familiar with the Watchers, the fall of the Watchers, and they understood this was their Bible story, so to speak.
Yeah.
And a part of them was the days of Noah and what that meant, and the days of Methuselah and the days of Jared, and whose name means, by the way, shall come down. It was in the days of Jared that the 200 Watchers descended.
Wow.
Yeah, very true. Do you think that because there was so much mystery and angels, demons, fallen angels, humanity, they were baffled by Jesus' first coming. Do you think his second coming is going to be shrouded in that much mystery?
That's a good question. Well, Jesus himself says that nobody knows the day or the hour, not even him. So if he doesn't know, certainly they don't.
Yeah.
I think we may be able to discern the season.
Sure.
And certainly they would be able to, but the day or the hour, we don't know. They don't know. And I don't think there's any angel in heaven that knows the day or the hour. So certainly there isn't any demonic force that would know. I think that they will have an idea of when we're entering into that season based on the things that Jesus tells us in Matthew 24 and the things that are laid out in the book of Revelations.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Wow.
Well, all of this and more, we're going to continue this conversation when we come back. We want to tell you how you can get a hold of the Unholy Sea DVD, documentary put on by Steve Quayle and Tim Alberino. Check this out.
They say this thing had been dead for maybe a day or two. We estimated his size at approximately 12 to 10 feet tall. The giant killed the first team that they came across. He was extremely big and fast and agile for a guy that size.
The popes and the agents of the Holy See have known about the giants for many centuries.
And do you believe that they have artifacts from the past that would help explain some of what's going on?
Absolutely sure.
The Vatican knows all the secrets. Secretly preparing for the arrival of alien saviors.
They seem to be intentionally creating dogma that is going to position the Roman Catholic Church to be at the forefront of an official disclosure moment.
The Vatican is involved in ufology in ways that they can't even imagine.
So while we're standing here in the headquarters of the Jesuits, tell us about Mount Graham.
They are constantly monitoring things with the Lucifer device. Sometimes they have to wait for all of the UFOs to get out of the way.
I would like to tell you more about Zechariah Sitchin. He told me, John Mario, one night I wake up and I saw an Anunnaki sitting on my bed.
History is being repeated. The days of Noah are returning.
The gods are returning to the earth to dwell among men and mingle their seed with the human race.
Only the truth can prepare us for the lie that's coming.
Welcome back to Into the Multiverse. I want to jump right back into this conversation. So we're talking about demonic entities in the time of Jesus. Let's jump even further back. We talked a little bit about this in the last week's program, about the idea that Mars may have been inhabited by some type of, we would say maybe angelic being, but that might also not give the appropriate, because there's physicality there too, right?
Well, unfortunately, I think we all have kind of a Sunday school paradigm that we struggle with our entire lives, especially as we're maturing in our understanding of the scriptures. But we're always fighting this very simplistic Sunday school paradigm, is the way that I refer to it. Things are very black and white, even to some believers who consider themselves to be mature believers. They still see things in very simplistic terms when they're dealing with a complexity that really we can't even fathom. I mean, everything is complex. When God created the earth and when God created the animals and so forth, he didn't just create 2 or 3 kinds. He created such a variety that we're still encountering new things that we didn't even see before, both in terms of plants and animals. So that's the complexity of the shadow.
Yeah.
What is the complexity of the real McCoy?
Oh, yeah.
If the shadow is so complex, how complex is the thing that is casting the shadow? In other words, the reality, the real, true reality of things. How much more complex is it? And I would submit that it is so complex that we probably will spend the rest of eternity discovering things.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
And so we're here now in corporeal bodies and physical manifestation in the physical world, trying to understand things that are Jesus said, if you can't understand the earthly things that I'm telling you, how can you possibly understand the spiritual things?
Right.
So there is a complexity but at the same time, I do feel like there is a grace for us living in this generation to understand things that perhaps have gone not understood for many thousands of years.
Yeah.
In fact, the book of Enoch starts off, the very first sentence, the very first paragraph of the book of Enoch is telling us that this book, which may in fact be the very first book written, I don't know, but I would say it certainly is probably the very first prophecy ever written. Well, that's not true because of what happened in the Garden of Eden. Obviously, that was prophetic, but I'm talking about written manuscript.
Yeah.
It may have been the first written manuscript in terms of a prophecy that was written down and passed on, that was literally addressed to the last generation, the generation that will be living in the end.
And isn't that amazing that our generation is the generation where the Book of Enoch is getting more and more popular?
And this seems to be the time in which it's resurfacing, and there are proofs coming out that are pointing to the fact that indeed it is as old as we think it is. It's definitely was written before the time of Christ, and yet I can find no other prophecies, biblical prophecies that are written in a biblical context that point to Jesus with in such concise terms as the book of Enoch. We were all familiar with the prophecies from the Old Testament that were referencing Christ, and of course the apostles were looking at these prophecies and saying, that's what this was saying. It must have been amazing for them after Jesus ascended, and they're realizing that all these prophecies were pointing to him. But the book of Enoch has some absolutely astounding things to say about the Son of God. That the righteous would hang on him. We are crucified with Christ.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
And so it talks about him being the staff of the righteous, and that even the Gentiles, he would be the light of the Gentiles. So anyways, I don't know how I got on a Book of Enoch tangent there. But
must be a God thing. But it's an absolutely beautiful book, and
it's valid. It's valid. I believe it's valid. I mean, it's quoted in Jude. So
and referenced by Peter.
And referenced, yes. So there will be those people out there. It's like it's not that's extra biblical. You can't talk about that. But no, there are parts of it that are in the Bible. So I think it's every bit.
It is. I believe it is. I did analysis on it. An Alberino analysis entitled the Book of Enoch. You can find it on YouTube. And many of the early church fathers also believed that the Book of Enoch was valid, including Tertullian.
Yeah, it was quoted quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think was I haven't done extensive research in this area. What do you think shifted the change? Because it seems like in the earlier centuries that the Book of Enoch was generally accepted, but somewhere along the lines that changed. I mean, I know friends and even family today that if I said, Book of Enoch's pretty cool, well, now I'm a demon worshiper or something.
Or the Book of Jasher even,
Yeah, Book of Jasher,
that's a history book too.
Where do you think that change happened? What
happened
purpose?
inside of the Roman Catholic Church.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So at one point, the Book of Enoch was very widely read and distributed, and then suddenly it was being burned.
Do you think the Vatican was intentionally trying to hide something there?
Well, they had decided what the canon was and the dogma and this and so forth, and so they decided that any other documents that might dispute, that people might think ought to be added but weren't added because the canon was closed. There was a disputation among people about this and that. And certainly the Book of Enoch would have been a book that a lot of people would have advocated for because they were very familiar with it. And it was, again, was very widely distributed. So that could be one of the reasons. And along with other manuscripts that maybe were burned and done away with and confiscated by the Church of Rome. I mean, that was the MO for the Church of Rome at the time and up until modern times has been to confiscate and bury things that don't go along with their codified doctrine. And so, and I would never try and make the argument that the Book of Enoch should have been included in the canon or whatever. I don't even get into that argument. It makes no difference to me. I want to know, is it true?
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
Right.
Is what it's saying true? Both in a historic context and also a prophetic context. And I think if you evaluate it in the way that you're supposed to evaluate prophecy, and you look at what was written and then you look at what was fulfilled and what is being fulfilled, I think you have to come to the conclusion that, well, there's definitely some truth to the Book of Enoch. Yeah. And so I think we need to take it seriously.
Wow.
I think so too. And actually, the Book of Enoch gives us a lot more information about the Nephilim, the giants. And I know that's something that you were really interested in, and you wanted to ask about the modern giant. I shouldn't take that away from you. So
do giants still walk the earth
yes,
today?
How about,
which is a really intriguing thought because most people would assume, a lot of people who can believe, giants exist. We know they exist. The Bible tells us. If you believe in the Bible, you believe in giants, period.
Right.
So we know they existed before and after the flood, So most Bible-believing Christians should be able to get that far at least, even though in seminaries teach you sons of Seth.
The Sethite theory.
Interpretation of Genesis 6, which is absolutely absurd.
Oh, it is.
So so if you can get that far, giants before the flood, giants after the flood, well, what about now?
Right.
And that's what we do with our True Legends documentary series, both in episode 1 and in episode 2.
You actually start the film off with this amazing story, and I remember when I first heard about it, I think I was kind of like Derek Gilbert, host of Skywatch TV. I didn't really know what to do with it, but the more that I heard about it, and especially after this documentary, I'm convinced. What happened?
Well, it's becoming a famous story at this point that Steve Quayle broke. He was contacted by a pilot, an active duty AC-130 pilot who was flying for the military, and who relayed to him this incredible story, which has since been corroborated by various sources. But it's the very first thing you'll see in our film. Our episode 2, The Unholy Sea, we start off with his testimony, and we conceal his identity, and for obvious reasons. So he flew on a routine mission to Bagram, Afghanistan, and he didn't know why he was going. They never told him exactly why he was going on the missions he would go on. He would just go and pick things up. He was in the business of, he was a AC-130 transport pilot, so he would go pick up all kinds of things. So when he pulled into Bagram, he was met at the place where he was picking up this package, so to speak. He's met there by these individuals that he refers to as the babysitters. They were very mysterious military guys, maybe intelligence guys, who immediately told him no pictures, no cameras, no taking notes. We have high value cargoes, what they called it, that you need to transport here. So he came around and with his other crew members, and there was a pallet sitting there on the tarmac, and on the pallet was the body of a humanoid, let's say, of a man that was exceedingly large. He filled up the entire pallet. These aren't normal warehouse pallets. These are military-grade AC-130 pallets. And he filled up the entire pallet. They're like 9 by 10 or something. And he was in the fetal position. And it was, in the pilot calls him a big guy. and that's what they referred to him as, a big guy that was apparently killed in a cave in Afghanistan, and the word was that he was killed by U.S. military personnel, and also that he had killed some of those military personnel and possibly had been eating them.
Oh, wow.
So anyways, he was helicoptered to that location, and this is what the pilot was picking up, the cargo. And it wasn't... the body was covered with a tarp, but not entirely. Mm-hmm. Some of the body parts were hanging out. The hands, the feet were sticking out of the tarp, and so it was obviously human-like, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And the feet were so large, they were taking their feet, the pilot and some of the other guys, some of the other military guys that were there, and putting their feet up against the giant's foot, and the giant's foot was like 3 times the size of their feet. And here's the interesting thing: because he was an AC-130 pilot and he had to load this cargo, they had to weigh it before they put it on into the AC-130, and so we know exactly how much this guy weighed. The weigh-in came at over 1,100 pounds.
Wow!
Oh, wow.
So if you take away the tarp and the pellet itself, maybe 100 pounds. The guy weighed 1,000 pounds.
Wow.
So, and it was a humanoid being. Mm-hmm. I say humanoid because I don't know any human that weighs 1,000 pounds and is, and he was estimated by the pilot to be from 10 to 12 feet tall. But other estimations that have come from other sources that have corroborated the story put him more around 13 to 15 feet tall.
Right.
Wow.
It'd probably be hard to tell if it was in the fetal position.
Right, he was in the fetal position, and the pilot couldn't take off the tarp or anything like that.
Right.
So, but they did weigh him. The guy weighed 1,000 pounds. So this is the beginning of our film.
Yeah.
And this guy came into our studio, this pilot. He showed me his credentials. He's active duty AC-130 pilot.
Wow.
And for his protection, you can't reveal.
For his protection, we don't want to put his face on camera. This is dangerous information.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we know that, and Steve has personal experience with this, that people have come under people have been killed for trying to come out with stuff about giants. So we're very careful about keeping his identity concealed.
Well, that's good.
That's fascinating. And I know I've heard you say this. Why hide it? Why hide it?
Yeah, that's really the question. Why hide this amazing
What does the military
discovery?
have to gain from hiding something?
What is it that why would the military have an interest in hiding this? Well, that right there, that in and of itself really validates the whole conspiracy behind the fact that somebody's hiding the bones of giants. If they're hiding the body of a giant, I mean, right out of Afghanistan. And by the way, it was rumored our pilot transported it from Bagram to Qatar, but that's where his mission ended. But he heard it rumored that the body eventually made its way to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Oh, wow.
Well, isn't that interesting?
Right, and that's where a lot of the UFO stuff is, have the crashed vehicles and so forth.
Exactly. So what does one thing have to do with another?
Obviously something, right?
Yeah.
So the conspiracy is real. This story has been corroborated by other sources, and again, the guy, he has the credentials. And he showed us his credentials. So
what I'm curious about is, so if this giant thing was living in a cave in Afghanistan, it would have to have a food source somewhere, especially if it was eating people. Was there any legends or any stories of the surrounding towns?
He was told that by some of the military guys that were there, and he said this could be hearsay. He doesn't know. This is what they told him. That they went into the cave in the first place because the local village that was close to this cave were bringing food.
Oh, wow.
And putting it at the mouth of the cave. And so, of course, what did they think? Taliban. The Taliban's in the cave. This is during that time when they were going into the caves looking for the Taliban, looking for Osama bin Laden, ostensibly. But so the villagers were feeding this thing. And so they thought they were feeding the Taliban. So they went in there expecting the Taliban, and they found something else.
A little bit bigger.
Wow.
And so apparently these things are very difficult to kill.
Oh,
but they can be killed, but they're very difficult to kill.
I can only imagine how many people it would take to bring down like almost a 15.
It would take a high
giant.
caliber rifle to kill a. I mean, it takes a high caliber rifle to kill an elk, a full grown elk.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a grizzly bear.
Yeah.
I mean, a grizzly bear you can fire off. I mean, I live in Montana, and I hear these kind of stories all the time from hunters. You can fire off 30 rounds into a grizzly bear of high caliber rifle, but if it hits him in the wrong places, he's going to still kill you.
Yeah.
So, and that's happened on some occasions. So imagine a person twice the size of a grizzly bear in terms of muscle mass and weight coming at you.
Yeah.
I know it took a lot to bring him down. That much I know.
Wow. Phenomenal stuff. Well, make sure you check out The Unholy Sea at skywatchtvstore.com. It's in a package. And if this is your first time watching, where can people find us online?
You can find us on youtube.com/into the multiverse, or you can go to skywatchtv.com. You can scroll down on the right-hand side. You can click that picture of Josh and I, and it will bring you right to this channel. Or check us out on Roku. On the Skywatch TV channel.
Excellent. Well, Tim, this has been absolutely fascinating. It's days like this where I kind of wish we had an hour-long program.
Oh, I know. We could talk about this forever.
But I can't thank you enough for making the time to join us into the multiverse.
It's been delightful.
Absolutely. All right. Well, until next time, take care and God bless.
Most American families are just 72 hours away from disaster. Here at Skywatch TV, we hope we can help avoid that.
I have been given permission to tell about this massive deal. There's one packet where you get one of each of these, breakfast and entree buckets, and again, 25 years shelf life. With that, you will get 15 of these Wise Fire packets. You'll get one of this water bottle. It will filter 99.9% of the impurities out of your water. Also, you will get for free this awesome auto kit.
Now, there's another package.
There are two more packages. The second package, you get 3 of each bucket. You pay for those, and you get the auto kit free, you get the Wise Fire free, and you get 2 of these bottles. There's a third deal. You won't believe this one. You get 6 of each of these. You get the auto kit free, you get the Wise Fire free, you get 2 bottles. Guess what else? You get the Mac Daddy 50-gallon water storage container. If the electric grid goes down, one of these is going to come very handy.
3 packages for preparedness, one that feeds a family of 6 for a month, one that feeds a family of 6 for 3 months, and one that feeds a family of 6 for half a year, and of course that includes the 50-gallon water tank. And with each package, we'll include free the Everyday Gourmet Cooking with Long-Term Food Storage, a $50 value. You'll find all of those deals online, the Wise Food Preparedness Specials at skywatchtvstore.com.